Comic books, video games, anime, sci-fi. If you've been made fun of for it, we're probably going to talk about it.
Get those nerds! Nerds!
You're listening to Nerd Radio.
Oh, no!
We never mic checked the computer over here, so I figured.
I was going to say, did you see Robbie in the hallway?
No.
What's going on over there?
Well, we forgot to check the computer, so I figured the least professional way to do it was
during
on
the intro.
air, yes,
yeah, all right. No, that's fair. Welcome to another week in Nerd Radio. My name is Chuck Bean. I'm your host, joined by the always ready Al Beck.
Always, even if it's late, I'm ready at some point.
That's right. And of course, Mr. James.
Hello.
James. Just
I don't have any cool attributes. I'm just James.
It's just James.
I'm
Just
not
James.
always ready.
Just James.
Well, you know what? I'm highly erotic. There
Yes.
Yeah, that's
The
right.
most erotic.
The highly
Let me undo
erotic.
one of my buttons here to make it more
Oh,
erotic.
yeah. Yeah, get that down. Which, I mean, if you're listening to the podcast, you can't see that. You maybe hear how he sounds even more erotic without that button. However, you can
Now
check
that the
us out.
button's undone, you can hear how erotic my voice sounds.
Yeah,
Right.
The rustling of
Enjoy
chest
the
hair.
eroticism. Yes, you hear those little noises. That's my 5 little chest hairs, all colliding with one another as I
You have 5?
brush my
Yeah.
fingers.
I
yeah,
have-
right up here. I don't know.
I have 2.
Oh, you have 2.
You know, Charlie
I have
Brown.
more over here.
You know, Charlie Brown has like 2 hairs on the top of his head.
Yeah.
That's how my chest looks.
That's funny. You usually have somebody like draw you shirtless, or just have the little Charlie Brown chest
Yeah.
hairs.
Whoop.
Yep, whoop. Two
That's
swoops.
it.
That's funny. That's the image I have of you now.
Yep.
Someone's Chuck Bean. They're gonna say his name. I'd be like, oh, I think of him shirtless with Charlie Brown.
Charlie Brown chest hair.
Yep.
As I was about to say, you can watch us. You can actually see James unbutton his button on Twitch Wednesday mornings and on Checkpoint XP's Twitch stream. That is at twitch.tv/checkpointxp, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
All right.
I don't even have to say backslash nowadays. You just say slash.
You just say slash.
These kids, they know what that means.
It's at http
Yes.
www.
Yeah,
Right.
Yes.
And as
It's
Al
on
Beck,
the World Wide Web.
it is. Yeah.
right. And speaking of the World Wide Web, Al Beck has paid the money so that if you're looking for Nerd Radio, you've got your one-stop shop.
I know when we put it that way. I'm the laziest man ever. Paid money out of my own pocket. This is not something that the radio station bought for us.
It is not.
I was charged my own credit card
Yep.
to register nerdradio101.com.
Well, I like to think that your lifespan is based on the amount of words that you speak. So
Yeah.
you're extending your life by God knows how many
Right.
years by
Right.
not giving out all those
Yeah.
URLs.
Except I've actually spent more words explaining why I purchased the URL
Yeah.
than it took to just say
You're in the
3
hole.
different
You're,
radio stations.
you're gonna die
Yeah.
soon. Oh
Yeah.
no! Look in the crystal ball. Oh, all
Yeah,
L's
so-
words are gone.
Yeah, so this is Nerd Radio has always been kind of a grassroots kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like we're not getting paid any extra to do it. We
Yeah.
do it because we love to
Yeah,
hang
yeah.
out and talk about nerd
Labor
stuff.
of love.
But I have a question for you, Al, because I have also spent my own money on
Yeah.
Nerd Radio stuff. I'll get cards, business cards, to put to hand out to people when I interview them, or to put at the different conventions.
It's
stuff
an
like that.
intervention to say James isn't paying enough of his
It
own
is
money.
not.
Right.
No,
I
it is
think-
not.
I think where he's going with this, though, is the fact that Chuck is the host. This show is his baby.
Yeah.
And he's wondering, do we own Nerd Radio 101 or do I own it?
Oh,
And I,
that's the question.
I mean,
Yes.
And as much as I
Will
definitely...
Al be the hero or the super villain?
And I do think of nerdradio101.com as our property, the 3 of us. But you know what? If you want to go with a legal battle, I will remind you it's mine.
That is also not where I was
Oh,
headed.
wow.
My question to you was,
I also love the fact that anyone who's hearing this right now has found us.
Yeah.
So like, I don't. This is really just such a waste of time to let them know how to find us when they've already done the homework. But
Maybe-
I love it, and it should never change.
maybe somebody is listening to the podcast but had no idea they could see us. Maybe somebody is watching us on Twitch but had no idea they could hear us.
Sure.
That's the
Yeah.
mindset I'm taking here. My question to you, I'll get to it eventually. When you spent the money on the website, was there a minute of, what if we just stop doing Nerd Radio next week? What a waste.
No,
Okay.
there wasn't
He's in for
because
the long haul.
yeah, no, that's just an ongoing fantasy of mine. By the way,
It's funny because it's true.
We do have a limited amount of time in the studio today because the checkpoint guys haven't interviewed you. We've never wasted more time in our lives than we've got.
This is all on tape. This is all part of the show.
It is. Yeah.
Guess what? He's got an article about a video game movie we're not going to talk about now.
We're not even going to get to it.
It's gone. It's next week's stuff.
Yeah. Ordinarily, we've got all the time in the world, and the show's nothing but just.
Yep. No, because I've done that almost every time I buy cards for the show. I'm like, man, what if I go in tomorrow and Jade's just like, yeah, so we don't need Nerd Radio anymore. So I just spent $30 on some new business cards. Damn it.
Wow.
Yeah, well, actually, the real sad part is if, let's just say that happened, that this ended up being our last show, which it's not.
No.
That's not the plan.
Right.
It's not the plan, but we all know how that goes sometimes. But the sad thing is I've got the URL registered for the whole year, but it's on auto renewal because I'm so stupid. I don't want to like lose it.
Yeah. It will exist.
It will exist forever because I'll never remember. Like we could cancel the show and I'll just still own it.
Nels worried some other nerdum podcast out there might want to steal the URL right from underneath us.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also it's just something I can, send you a message 10 years from now and remind you that I still own it.
It's still mine, bitch. All right, well, let's talk about what's going on in the world of nerds, because there was some huge news, mainly in the video game industry, but a couple of hours after we recorded last week's Nerd Radio, PlayStation had their big announcement for the PlayStation 5. James, I'm sure you've talked to the guys at Checkpoint about this already, but I'm curious to get both your take and Al's take about the new PlayStation 5. It's supposed to release in November, starts at $399 for the digital edition and $499 for the Ultra HD Blu-ray disc drive edition. They also released some of the games that are going to be part of it, one of which is supposed to be Marvel's Spider-Man, Miles Morales, which the good news there is that it will be available on the PlayStation 4.
Yeah,
as well as the 5.
Both systems.
So you don't have to get a 5 to play the new Spider-Man game, which is awesome. Here's even better. The standard edition, which will be available digitally in the PlayStation Store or physically, is $49.99. So it's $10 cheaper than what we're used to at $60. However, if you want to get the PlayStation 5 edition, which is I think $70 or $80, not only do you get the new Miles Morales game, but you get the Spider-Man game from a couple years ago, completely updated with new graphics.
Nice. All right.
So if you haven't played it, it's a good opportunity to play it. And it sounds like the Miles Morales game is going to be significantly smaller.
Really?
And a little bit shorter than these, like it almost like it was.
I wonder if there'll be some DLC stuff later to help expand the game a little bit.
Yeah, I would have to think
it's
so.
Such a hugely popular game, like from the Spider-Man on the PS4 to now the Miles Morales version that's coming out. I can't see them not having that game be available in some way, shape, or form to where they can rake in money off of it continuously.
They'll expand on it, and it's to my personal chagrin is the fact that like online multiplayer gaming is so popular. That's where they usually expand it.
Sure.
Whereas I like the single player stuff. So like I'll every so often dust off Grand Theft Auto 5 and play it again. And we've talked about on the show how much I enjoyed that game, and I'm always like, man, I wish there was some DLC where they give me some new missions to play
in single player.
Right, but but they are constantly updating the game. It's just all for online stuff, which I'm not interested in at all.
And stuff, right?
Right. Yeah.
Man, there is some hate on Square Enix in the chat right now on Twitch. What is that all about? Between Jay Moore and Hall Gaming, they're very angry at Square Enix, and I missed why. Let me know in the chat. I'm real interested to find out what you guys are upset about because I've heard some things. But yeah, so Miles Morales is coming out as one of the launch titles. Also, not a launch title, but exclusive to the PlayStation is the new Final Fantasy, which they have a trailer for, Final Fantasy 16, and it looks like it's going to go back to the more fantasy-based, sword and sorcery stuff than the updated, like in the 15, the guys had cars.
Yeah.
And, in Final Fantasy 7 or Final Fantasy 8, there was the Gunblade and stuff. So there was a little bit of future on top of the fantasy stuff. Do you have a preference, Al? Because I was thinking as I was watching it that I am definitely, I enjoy it more when it's modern. When
like the Final Fantasy games?
When there's cars and robots and, gun blades and stuff like that. Yeah.
I think I prefer the classic feel. I loved 9 so much because it had that sort of like almost that medieval era feel to it. There was castles and stuff like that, And like I think there was like a blimp thing, but it was very steampunk.
Right. Yeah, and that's the airships.
Yeah, the airship. Yeah, yeah.
That's always something that I'm super into is the technology on top of the fantasy stuff. Like, how does the airship work? Well, it's fueled by magic, but it looks very steampunk.
Yes,
I think that's the cool way to do it in Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
I like the medieval. I want to see a wizard that looks like a real wizard, like a Merlin with the beard,
right,
casting the spells, and I want I want the traditional look of like the warriors and stuff. Like, so I'm more into the medieval times.
Are you okay?
Like might and magic type stuff.
I like I like the wizards, but I like them when they're standing next to the guy that's got a Gatling gun on its arm.
Yeah, I get it.
And that's kind of fun.
Well, I do like that kind of like aspect too. Can't we get like a medieval guy with like a crossbow on his arm?
Yeah, that would be pretty fun.
Jay Moore chiming in on the Twitch chat saying that he loves that opening scene from Final Fantasy VIII. So Gunblade forever for him.
Yeah,
it is pretty cool. I mean, like, I have a preference, but it doesn't kill it for me. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's not like I'm not gonna play a Final Fantasy because they went hard into one particular genre.
Can you explain to me, guys? Here, I'm a little out of the loop. What is a Gunblade?
Well, the main character, you remember in Final Fantasy VII, the main character, Cloud, had the giant Buster Sword.
Yes.
That's like as big as he is kind of thing. In Final Fantasy VIII, the main character, Squall, and his rival, whose name escapes me, have it's a sword, but then it has like a revolver at the handle.
Okay.
And the handle is looks like the handle of a revolver.
So I could like walk up to you with it, hiya, decapitate you, and then I see Al Beck out of the corner of my eye, I'm like, I gotta take him out too. Pop, 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 and then shoot. Okay.
Yeah, kind of like that,
nice.
which was an interesting weapon.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay.
I do love the concept. Like I said, I don't hate it.
Yeah, it's not
but
practical.
I would if I had the choice, I would prefer it wasn't there.
Like what? How am I going? You got to be able to pull the trigger at the exact right time to shoot the guy while you're stabbing him or slicing him.
Yeah.
It's not practical, but it looks neat.
I can make it happen.
Yeah, you think so?
I'm such a marksman. I'd make that happen. I'd make the bullet do a curveball.
Marksman is not the way your Realm Royale streams typically work.
No, that's true. Yeah, that's very true. You got me there. You got me there, Chuck.
But the other thing I wanted to talk about with the PlayStation 5, because we talked about the Xbox last week, is they're also releasing something called the PlayStation Plus Collection, which will offer select PlayStation 4 games on the PlayStation 5, and it'll be available on day one. So we have almost essentially gone from buy a system on day one and you got to buy at least one game for it, right? Or it comes with a game back in the day. Now it's like, no, buy the system, go home, sign up for the subscription service, and have access to a plethora of new games to play. They say that some of the games that'll be available are God of War, Bloodborne, Final Fantasy 15, Mortal Kombat 10, Until Dawn, The Last Guardian, The Last of Us Remastered, Persona 5, and Resident Evil 7 Biohazard.
Those are the only ones that'll be available? Because I thought
that says some of the available games.
Okay,
so there's going to be more.
I thought when they first talked PS5, it was always going to be backwards compatible all the way back to the PS1.
Right.
So that doesn't mean you wouldn't be able to just pop your games in?
No.
It's all going to have to be downloaded, huh?
From the sounds of it, they're absolutely going to make it part of this subscription service thing where you'll have access to it, almost like a Netflix for gaming, in the same way that Xbox has Game Pass?
Game Pass.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only difference being, which many people have pointed out, is that on Game Pass, you get games that the day they're released are available on Game Pass, which is fascinating. You would think you'd lose a lot of money that way. Like, wait, I can pay a subscription fee that's 1/6 of what I'd pay for a new game, and then just have a new game when it comes out.
Well, I feel like the game manufacturers are probably going to be getting a percentage of subscriptions. I would think there's got to be a way.
Oh, they have to.
The way the game manufacturers.
Otherwise, why would you put it there?
Cut. Maybe they have something set up to where like, okay, so many subscriptions from the release date of your game.
Yeah.
Up until this point in time, you get this percent.
Well, it's kind of following the same formula that your wrestling WWE.
The network.
The network. Where the pay-per-views used to be $60 a month or whatever, but they probably get more people that are willing to pay whatever the monthly subscription rate is and get the pay-per-views rather than they were getting people to pay the $60.
Oh,
they got me. I've been with them for like 2-3 years now.
Yeah.
Right.
I was like, what? It's only $10. I can watch all the pay-per-views and I can go back and watch all this content. Yeah, take my money.
Right. And you might end up spending, the same amount of money that you would if you were just like, you know what, all I'm going to get is Royal Rumble and WrestleMania because those are the big dogs a year.
Yeah.
Maybe you'd go ahead and shell out the money for that. Maybe you're covering that amount of cost with the whole year of subscription, but also you could have been like, you know what, I'd love to get Royal Rumble, but I just can't.
Right.
But you're still spending that money with the network, whereas, you know what I mean? So, like, they figured out they're not out to not make money. So
not at all.
They're probably looking at models like that and seeing that we're going to get more people willing to pay for the subscription.
Yeah.
You know, and actually in the long run make more money.
As somebody who's been playing games for like 30 plus years, it's fascinating to me. We talked about it last week about like 2K Battlegrounds and Avengers just being like, here's the game. We'll put out downloadable content and we're not even going to charge you for it now. Whereas, for the last 5-10 years, it's been buy the game, but then spend another $20 the day you get it so you can get the pass for the whole year for all this stuff that we promise to put out later on. And it's fascinating to me to watch it go from, oh, I got a Super Nintendo and I got this Mario game with it thing to like, well, I got an Xbox and I went home and I paid $20 for the month and now I have
every single game known to man.
30 new games to choose from to play.
And for me, I like doing the PlayStation Now subscription, which they already have something like this, because to me, I'm such a finicky gamer. I don't do a lot of gaming, and I'll pick a game and I'll play it for even a game I love. Like I just start RDR2 over again because I loved it.
Yeah.
But I only played it for a few hours and I got distracted. You know what I mean? So, like, that's the kind of gamer I am. I never really finished anything. So this way, I pay the amount of money per year for one video game, and I've got hundreds to choose from. And if I only play it for 10 minutes, it's not really a loss.
Yeah.
But I definitely get more than my money's worth over time.
Over time, yeah.
Well, let's talk about something that's going on the other side of the fence, because that's the other big gaming news this week. Microsoft buying Bethesda Games for $7.5 billion, which a lot of people are thinking means that quite a few of Bethesda's IPs, like the Elder Scrolls and maybe even Doom, will be Microsoft exclusive.
I think if they're smart, that's the way to go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to get people to, because I feel like right now the Xbox is not really showing a whole lot of reason. At least this is what has been discussed amongst me and the Checkpoint guys.
Sure.
Anything that Microsoft has out on the Xbox, you can play on a PC.
Yes.
So what is the draw to get you to get the Xbox?
Right.
But now the buying Bethesda and whatever their parent company is.
If the next Skyrim or a Fallout or something like that is,
or even a Doom.
Yeah. And I can't imagine them being, because it's Microsoft, it's probably gonna be PC and Xbox. It'll be a matter of like, you just can't have this on your PlayStation.
Right. I can't have it on my gaming console.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Much to what they've done with what PlayStation has done with the Final Fantasy VII remake, right? That's only available PC and the PlayStation.
Right.
So it'll probably be just like that. So it's going to be like the wars of like who's got what
Yeah.
entities or what properties.
Yeah. And once again,
Exclusivity, the exclusivity wars.
it's Sonic versus Super Mario all
Yeah.
over
Right.
again. Like, if I got to have this thing if I want this, but I've got to have this one too if I want that.
So I was gonna
Because
say, I feel
Sega does what Nintendo don't.
I feel like we saw more of this before, and it seems like the exclusive game brand kind of went away for a while.
Absolutely.
You know, because like you said, Mario and Sonic, you had your Nintendo
And they're friends now.
Yeah.
You buy a game,
they go to the Olympics and stuff together.
They're competing as friends in the Olympics.
Right.
So
but we saw a bunch of that. I mean, even in the newer generations, Halo was an Xbox only, where Final Fantasy up until whatever it was, 13 or something, was exclusive to the PlayStation. So it's funny to me that it's going back. Although in this story, we don't know. It's just speculation that it's going to go exclusive.
Yeah, they haven't announced anything like that yet. It's just speculation that everybody thinks like, well, if
But Final Fantasy 16 is definitely exclusive to PlayStation.
It's going to be on the PlayStation, and people are speculating it'll be a PC game as well.
Okay.
And that's the interesting thing too, is that PC is the bridge between the two.
Yeah.
Like if you can afford to, and you have the know-how to keep up a gaming PC, then you've just got access to 90% of everything.
You probably don't even need to bother with the console then at that point.
Right.
Everybody tells me PC's the master gaming race or whatever. And I'm like, oh, well, I got every console known to mankind.
I've heard that too, but I can't do PC gaming.
I don't know why it's such a hold up for me. I have a PC that I could game on. I played a couple games on it, but
it is a massive investment in my experience. It is a massive investment monetarily, just knowing how to put the stuff together and make it all work. Like, you're troubleshooting your own thing. That's the joy of a console, is if I put the disc in and it doesn't work, it's because it doesn't work, not because I didn't do one of 20 things.
Yeah, my RAM's not pushed in all the way right, or I don't have a cable connected from my capture card into
You got to push that RAM all the way in, James.
You got to push that RAM all the way.
All the way.
That's why it's called RAM.
Yeah, you got to ram it in there. Ram it hard.
Ramming speed.
Ramming speed engage.
Engage the ramming.
But then you've also got this little island over here that Nintendo is running. Then it's like none of their stuff's on the PC.
That's true. Yeah, they're always just in their own little world.
Yeah,
they make it work.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
You know what though? Good for Nintendo for like having a system again that's actually viable, because it seems like ever since the Super Nintendo, it seems like they're try and get close, but
they're always trying weird things.
Yeah,
and it doesn't always
like
connect.
the GameCube was, like. Okay, or I guess since the N64. The N64 was the last like huge viable system that they've had.
Really, you'd say not the Wii wouldn't be a huge viable
I don't think
system?
so. I think the Wii was almost cool.
I feel like once it went to Wii U, that's when I kind of fell off the Nintendo wagon.
Because I think people were like kind of like really into the fact that you were able to move and play the game.
Like bowling. I'm bowling for real in my
but
living
then,
room.
Which is exciting for about 30 seconds, and then I'm out of breath.
Right.
And I'm still excited when I get a strike. You should see me get a turkey in Wii U bowling. If I could do the splits, I would, just like in Kingpin.
Just like in Kingpin, yeah.
But like again, like not that those systems were bad, but they were like almost there, and it's just like they were always like. I mean, Nintendo is such a big name in gaming; it's iconic. But they were always sort of like the other, like okay, whatever. But
to me, it's like
they're killing it with the Switch, though.
When a gamer becomes a gaming man or gaming woman, you leave the Nintendo behind and you get an Xbox or a PlayStation. Is what it always was to me. But now I'm like, I love my Switch.
It's so fun.
It's cool. There's so many cool
portable.
things about it.
There's a bunch of great stuff on it.
Is it more like, it's funny, we're talking exclusive stuff. I feel like Nintendo's almost like its own little thing, where it's like you've got your PlayStation and Xbox and they have a lot of the same games. Do you find a lot of the same games coming to the Nintendo properties?
You do, actually.
Okay.
James, didn't you get Battlegrounds for the Switch?
I have Battlegrounds, 2K or WWE2k Battlegrounds, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
I have it for the Switch.
Yeah, so there's plenty of stuff. I mean, they've put Elder Scrolls on everything.
Outer Worlds
is over there.
But the thing that I do see with the Switch is there's issues, I think, porting some of the games over. They don't translate as well in terms of mechanics.
It is still one of those things where the Nintendo system isn't up to spec with the other current gen systems, but it's just barely.
Yeah.
It's just like one step behind the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 when it comes to that stuff. I'm glad we're talking about Nintendo though, because I've got some I got the new Super Mario All-Stars. I want to talk about that. I wanted to find out what Battlegrounds is like for you.
Yeah.
And I've got more video game stuff to talk about. So let's take a quick break and we'll be back with more Nerd Radio.